Doreen 𝗔𝗓𝗢𝗃𝗧 is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen 𝗔𝗓𝗢𝗃𝗧.
Dr. 𝗔𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗃.
Dr. Doreen 𝗔𝗓𝗢𝗃𝗧.
Dr. Doreen 𝗔𝗓𝗢𝗃𝗧 is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Jennifer's written in something really interesting. She said, my son is screen obsessed. I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? He plays things over and over and likes to choreograph 2 devices. I'm not sure this part, but she says his aggression comes out with removal. I think we can all relate to that too, that he lacks fine motor, so computer stuff he can't grasp. So I think we're really talking about like iPads, I think. And that he is someone who refuses to leave home and has been diagnosed with social anxiety. Now, we don't have an age, Jennifer. If you want to write in and tell us how old he is, that might be useful.
But let's talk about this, Jennifer, because there's 2 different issues here, and they're both important.
Yeah.
So we start with he has a tantrum. He has aggression when you take the device away. And I know this is scary, and as Shannon said, depending on his age, it's probably even more scary if he's older.
Yeah.
But you must work towards actually removing this object. And, you know, the second part of your question kind of says why you must. Because his world will narrow and be focused only on the device if you allow it. Already, I'm concerned that he's not leaving the house, and we can talk about that in a minute separately. But I do want to say that whenever there is a behavior that you know, the child has a tantrum or aggression or anything like that because you're taking away a device, essentially he has trained you to not take away the device because you will be punished by his aggression if you do. So he's taught you to leave him alone, which is not okay because society will not allow him as he ages to just spend all of his life on a device. So you should get help. You should get people, whether they are, you know, hopefully you can find someone who's a board-certified behavior analyst who's able to come in and help you. What they will do is a functional behavior assessment, which essentially says they will do a bunch of experiments and ask you a lot of questions, and they will come to the conclusion that he is tantruming or having aggressive behavior because he wants to avoid giving up his object, which is the device, right? And that is not okay, and they will teach you techniques such as, for instance, taking away the object, allowing him to have his tantrum while there is enough support that you can contain the aggression. That's why I want you to have support first. Because often when we don't reward what you're doing when you give it back, because, you know, he tantrums, aggresses, and you give him back the device, is he's being rewarded for the aggression. He's, in his system, he's realizing, wow, that really worked. I aggressed, they gave me back the object I wanted, this is great, from now on, I win. From now on, what I'm gonna do is whenever they take something away that I don't want them to take away, I will hit, and I'll get it back. And it just has happened. There's no blame in this. I'm not blaming you in any way. This has happened over time, and it happens frequently with our kids. The issue is now we have to teach him the opposite of that, which is that if you aggress, you're not getting back this object. But if you ask nicely, you might get it back, depending on what time of the day it is or how much you've already had it. So essentially, the way that it works is that it starts with taking the object away and allowing the individual to have a massive aggressive or tantrum fit without aggressing. That's why you need multiple people there to protect and to make sure that you are safe, he is safe. The aggression will increase, that's called an extinction burst, and it will decrease because he will realize this is not effective anymore. And once he realizes that, you can actually have him come and say, I'm calm, I want the device again, and then you can allow it for a short period of time. It's all about being fair, so it's really all about moderating and making sure that our kids have the things that are meaningful to them, but not when it interferes with the rest of their lives. You know, my kids and Shannon's kid, I don't know if he still does, but my child still, who is 23 years old now, still loves to play games on a computer, video games, but he will do it literally like from, you know, 10 to 11 o'clock at night, and that's it, right? It doesn't interfere with his day. There's no way he would be doing that during the day. It's just his recreational activity, and he gives it a specific amount of time. If he was doing it during the day, I would be on his case, because he wouldn't be going to work or school or all the other things that he has to do, or leaving the house, right? I mean, these things can become so dominating that we will do nothing else but this. That's when it becomes an addiction. It's like everything else that we do beyond control, and it needs to be controlled. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I think in our case, one of the things that I've discovered is if nothing else is going on, my kid, you know,
Can do
if
it,
he has
right.
2 weeks off, he will spend the entire 2 weeks doing the computer unless somebody interrupts that for him and offers him something that is equally or more exciting.
Yes, of
And
course.
that's really been the trip. And I can remember when he was younger and we were really addicted to the iPad, that, you know, sometimes it took like a day of going to Disneyland, because we live close to Disneyland, where we say, oh, we're going to Disneyland.
Yes.
And oopsie, we forgot to bring the iPad in the car. So you're just going to have to sing and do other things in the car on the way down. And he knew that he was going to Disneyland, so he got through it. I think, you know, I'm on his case all the time about it, but I want to say that for me, the being on his case doesn't work. But when he has other things that are more exciting. Now, for somebody who's already saying, I don't want to go home because I have social anxiety, and I've admitted before on the show that I had a bout with agoraphobia and had to be treated in cognitive behavioral therapy to be able to leave the house again. I couldn't leave home, you know, for a period of time. And the only time I would leave was to come to clinic, because I had to.
Yes.
Because my child's well-being was dependent upon that, right?
Right.
But, you know, I think that having gone through the cognitive behavioral for it, it's all about, you know, what do you want? And being, you know, you've talked before about systematic desensitization.
Yes.
And they helped me to work through a process to be able to go out the house, you know, and be 10 feet outside the house, and then be, you know, in the car and go someplace. But it really was tied to things that I wanted to do or felt like I needed to do because as, you know, as a parent.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.